Hello, guys, and welcome back to the NW Sportscast. Today, we are going to be talking about the Seattle Mariners. Some, free agency is starting. We did not extend Teoscar Hernandez. Will Tom Murphy re-sign? We got a random catcher in trade. All that and more in this segment. Levi, biggest news though: Teoscar Hernandez, 99% chance will not be a Mariner next year. What is your initial thoughts?
A lot of people are mad at our front office for being stingy. I actually agree with this. I tend to be a little bit of a pessimist when it comes to my thoughts on the Mariners front office, but I think this was the right thing. Look, Teo, we don't know what offer he's gonna get. He is. People are saying he's a top five bat on the open market. What they mean by that, he's a top five power hitter on the open market. I don't think you can be considered a top bat when you strike out literally an average of once every four
Yeah.
innings. So the deal with Teo is he I would rather have him than Dominic Canzone as my right fielder, but I would rather have a new right fielder that we could acquire or trade or free agency. So I don't think this says anything. Like people are saying this is like, oh, this is a sign that the Mariners front office isn't going to spend any money this year. This is a sign that we're just going to penny pinch and we're going to roll out Cade Marlowe as our starter next year or some. I don't think it's a sign. I honestly would not read too much into it. I think it is legitimately that the front office isn't sure if Teo would accept it or not.
Yeah.
And if he accepts it, they don't want him to accept it, not because they don't want to pay 20 million, but because they don't want to pay 20 million for him because he's not good.
Yeah, no, I this we're gonna agree on this one, Levi. It's Oscar
Yeah.
Hernandez, far too many strikeouts. Is he worth maybe $10 million? Sure, but it's double that right now. Would you? I'd rather have Canzone or Teo. It's a pretty easy answer. It's Canzone right now, and I'm saying that because
No, I
I'm
disagree.
saying that I'm saying that because Canzone's worth a few $1 million. So would I rather have Canzone for 4 or Teo for 20?
Well, I'd rather we not worry about money because we're a professional sports team in a league without a salary cap.
It's a great point, but I'd rather have Canzo for 4 than Teo for 20, knowing the Mariners will only spend X amount of money because that's what we've been doing for the last 20 years. Listen, you mentioned the strikeouts. That's exactly what I think Jerry Dipoto was kind of going for here. Dipoto said, this is from Ryan Divish. Dipoto said one of the reasons they didn't offer a qualifying offer to Teoscar Hernandez is they're trying to find a way to cut down strikeouts in their lineup. They are looking for hitters, preferably right-handed hitters, that can provide offensive impact with less swing and miss. Ideally, the right-handed hitter would play a corner outfield spot, and he wouldn't rule out more of a full-time DH if addressed that need. So it's very similar to what you said, Levi. Too many strikeouts from Teo, not enough offensive production. If he had 40 homers, that's one thing. But what did he have? 20, 25? I mean,
He's about 24. I mean, yeah, if he was Kyle Schwarber, that would be different. But he's not Kyle Schwarber. He's like Kyle Schwarber ultra light.
and he has below average defense.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, I mean, towards the end of the year, he had a few really, really bad plays. I remember a few times, a one hopper got under his legs, got a guy, scored a guy from first. I remember one where it went over his head. I mean, these are just a few plays off the top of my head I remember from the last few weeks of the season. And the fact that I remember that is kind of a bad sign. And there's times Teo is so hot or cold. There's times in the middle of the season where I didn't even think he was trying, Levi. I mean, he went up to the plate and just
Yeah,
swung 3 times and it was strike three. It made it seem like he didn't even want to be back.
yeah. I'm not sure if he would. I think this is a little bit telling, honestly. I wonder if this is a sign that the market might be a little cheap this year because like the projections are saying Teo's worth about 20 mil a year. That's what the qualifying offer would have had to be for. And if he declined it and thinks he can get a better deal somewhere else, then we would have gotten a first round pick and that would have been good. But I think they honestly are not sure if Teo can get a better deal, and maybe Teo's not sure. That speaks to the fact that maybe the market might be a little bit cheaper this year, outside of Otani. But it also says to me, look, I think you can sign, and this is the guy who I've had my eye on for about 2 years. I think you can sign Lourdes Gurriel, another former Blue Jay, who, in my opinion, is better and more of a complete player. I think
Yeah.
you can sign him for less than 20 mil to do the same thing that Teo would have done. And you can sign him for multiple years and for the future. Like you're giving Teo 1 year, 20 million. Then you have the same debate next season. You have the same question mark next season. You have the same free agency looming next season. And you're stuck with a guy who's going to strike out on average 10 times per $1 million that he's getting, or more than that, 20 times per $1 million he's getting. So it's like, yeah, I think this was a smart move.
Yeah. We can move on really quickly. Let's talk about Tom Murphy. When he was playing, one of the best players for the Seattle Mariners. I mean, that is really crazy to say, but he has been a really good backup catcher when he's been on the field. Um, but according to Depoto, they obviously want Murphy back. There's interest in him returning, but he also knows there'll be a lot of interest from other teams as well. So the possible late season extension, it never really got too far into that process because Tom Murphy knows he has some other options out there in the market because a backup catcher who hit what? He hit 300 this year. I mean, he didn't play that much, but he showed some pop.
Yeah, I would hope we bring him back.
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
have to hope that Tom wants to be in Seattle. That I think that's the way you're bringing him back.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, how much are we really offering him as a thing? I'm not going double digits here, for a backup catcher.
No, and not for one who gets injured as much as Tom does.
Agreed. A couple other minor things. Former bullpen coach Stephen Vogt now is going to be a manager for the Guardians. So good for him. 1 year in a coaching job in Seattle, and now he's the manager of a club. Kind of unexpected there. I would have liked to have him back for another year, but good for him.
Yeah, people have spoken to his ability as a bullpen coach. They spoke to his leadership. And I think it's less that he knows exactly how to do the bullpen, and it's more that he knows the game. He's been around the game. He was a catcher for like 12 years. MLB. I think he was an all-star 1 year.
Really
So
liked the guy. Played till he
I,
was really old. I mean, he's 2 years removed of an MLB job. So
I think it's a smart move by the Guardians. But yeah, Seattle they're gonna have to look to replace him.
another thing, Levi Emerson Hancock and Marco Gonzalez, they will report for spring training. However, Robbie Ray expected, but he will not return to at least after the All-Star game break. What do you think that means for the Seattle Mariners and what we might have to do to get a starting pitcher if we don't trust a guy like Hancock and a guy like Marco Gonzalez?
Yeah. So right now we have seven pitchers. Or as when I do the air quotes, 7 major league pitchers. Right. How many of them do we trust? I personally trust 3 of them. I trust Castillo to pitch well against bad teams. I trust Gilbert to pitch pretty much decent against any team, and I pitch Kirby to dominate good teams and then have his once a month 8 runs against the
Yeah,
worst team in the league.
it's a great
So
point.
I trust those 3 pitchers to be solid, to give me 200 or 150 innings. The other 4, I don't know. Hancock, I mean, he's pitched 3 games. Brian Wu fell apart end of the season. Bryce Miller, fine, has potential if he keeps developing. And Marco, I used to be a big Marco fan. I used to be a big Marco defender. But I think he might be out of gas.
Yeah,
So
my thing with
I
Marco is that you're not he's on the hook for what 10, $11 million. I mean, it's a substantial amount of money where DFAing doesn't really make too much sense. So the Mariners are going to at least see what he's got in spring training, and he's definitely going to be a candidate
so
for
Drew,
that.
is Marco the backup plan then? Is he the 6th guy behind Wu and Miller?
I think that they are gonna honestly, I honestly think the Mariners are gonna go into spring training having 3 guys locked down, and then they're going to have Hancock, they're going to have Miller, they're going to have Wu, and they're going to have Marco all fight for those last two roles. And the other 2 guys will either they might go for the 6-man rotation for a little bit, Maybe a guy will go to the bullpen, or maybe a couple of guys will start in AAA, or Marco could get DFA'd. But those four guys, I think ultimately all have a chance to make the opening day roster as a starting pitcher. Just depends how they perform in winter training and in spring training and all that. I would say right now probably Miller and Wu definitely have the leg up against the other two pitchers. But Marco, if he comes out and his arm is feeling healthy, Marco's a guy that's very consistent. He will give you 5 or 6 innings every single
Last season
time.
he had a nice 5.6 ERA.
He will give you 5 or 6 innings every single game, and he'll let up 3 or 4 runs every single game. So, you can be in ball games with Marco Gonzalez. We know this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. I think the move is trade one of the youngsters, ideally trade Hancock, and then bring in another guy who's like you don't have to bring in an ace, but I would feel a lot more comfortable if you bring in a guy who can be your fourth starter,
Yes.
with a veteran, more like reliable type of an arm.
Yeah.
And that can be like a $10 million. It doesn't. I'm not saying like, yeah, like the Mariners have to go sign Blake Snell for 26 million a year. Like, I'm not saying that. I think that there's a lot of cheaper options. And then what you can do is you can have Miller and Wu compete for the fifth spot. The one who doesn't win that, he's gonna go to the Rainiers. He'll start opening day for the Rainiers. He'll be the first guy up as soon as somebody gets injured. And then with Marco, it's either bullpen or it's put him on the Rainiers too, I guess. I mean, he could Marco would not be a bad backup plan. I don't think Marco should be the plan. Like personally, I would feel more comfortable if Marco is not on the opening day rotation, but that's just me.
Yeah, I would agree. I would. But if you play guys like Miller and Wu, it's not a terrible idea to even start with a 6-man rotation. I don't think that's out of the question either.
Well, we tried that once and it didn't work out well for us.
There's always options. And you never really know with the Seattle Mariners and Jerry Dipoto. Hopefully, we go out and get a bat. When Jerry was asked about Shohei Ohtani, kind of gave the classic GM answer, pretty much said, we're interested, but everyone's
So
interested. So we'll
So hang
see what
on, I'm
happens
not sure if
there.
I saw this interview, Drew. So he mentioned he wanted to bring in one bat and he wants it to be a right-handed bat and he wants it to be either a DH or a right fielder.
He pretty much said that he wants a bat that can have more contact than what Teoscar Hernandez provided, preferably a corner outfielder and possibly a full-time DH in the offseason.
So he thinks we're one bat away. He thinks we need to replace our one batter that we're losing with another one batter and then keep the rest of the team how it is.
I mean, I'm just reading quotes off Twitter here. I didn't watch the full interview, but from what I could gather, he wants a
That's his
DH.
logic.
What?
If his logic is just replace Teoscar with a guy who's of similar level to him, except for he makes contact more, then we can throw out the playoffs entirely for next year.
No, no.
There's
If
no
we get
way.
Levi, if we get a DH, if we get a really solid DH and we
If you
also get a corner
don't,
outfielder,
if you don't upgrade, you get worse because there's other teams that are going to upgrade.
I
This was
agree
my
with you. I agree with
season.
you.
Last season, I said I don't think that we as a team from a talent level have gotten worse. But when we stay the same and the Rangers get better and the Orioles get better, then yes, we're going to end up being a worse team because you either in baseball you're either upgrading or you're downgrading. You don't just stay at the same level. You don't get to do that.
But I think we would be upgrading if we get a really
So you
good corner
replace
outfielder.
if you lose your right fielder who hit 240, 26 home runs, and replace him with a right fielder who hits 280 with 10 home runs, it seems pretty comparable to me. And then if you're not making any other upgrades, then it feels like a lost off season.
I agree. Levi, I was the guy that is arguing to bring in a big time bat. You were the guy
Yeah,
that said we shouldn't. I mean, guys, go watch that video if you want to see both of our
I
opinions
was the
on
guy
this.
saying you have to have a complete approach. It can't just be, well, we lost one player, so we have to replace that one
Yeah.
player. And then the
No.
team who was terrible at the end of the season, let's just
All
keep him
right. All right. Let's
home.
hop off the soapbox here, Levi. Yes, I definitely think that Jerry Dipoto was referencing more in response to Teoscar Hernandez, them not re-signing Teo. We'll see. He pretty much said he wants a DH and a corner outfielder. He also, the Shohei Ohtani, I can rule out Shohei Ohtani now with the comments he made, pretty much saying, yeah, he pretty much said, yeah, he'd be great, but also every team's going to want him and other teams are going to offer him more money. It's pretty much like the sentiment I got from that. So we can rule out Shohei, and that's the one really bona fide superstar free agent. I mean, am I missing anyone?
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, I mean, except for through a trade, we're going to have to wait on that. But I think that's going to be it, Levi. We got anything else here?
I nothing else news as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Hopefully we actually decide to act like we're a good team this offseason.
Yeah, I agree. So this is just a quick Mariner updates. You got Teo, we touched on kind of everything. Teo, Murphy, we got some, pitching, we got Jerry DePoto's comments. So that's gonna do it, guys. This is the NW Sportscast. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. We're really enjoying the upper momentum right now, approaching 520 subscribers. So if we can get to 600 by the end of the year, that'd be great. I think that's definitely doable. And thanks for watching. And go check out our other channel go check out our other channel. We do NFL power rankings and stuff like that. If you want to do that, Coast to Coast Sports. And that's gonna be it, guys. See you later.